Hey everybody, I'm Doc and welcome back to another edition of the Boneyard. I'm going to start off with the mantra, and what is it? It's a safe zone but not a comfort zone. Well, let me tell you, with this podcast, I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people, but you know what? I frankly don't give a shit. And I'm going to tell you why. Alright, here's the why. Recent events in Afghanistan. It is blatantly obvious that the Joe Biden administration does not give a rat's ass about American citizens and our allies in the global war on terror, specifically the ones that we are leaving behind in Kabul, Afghanistan. That's right, there are American citizens that cannot get out of Kabul, Afghanistan. The Taliban are hunting down and killing American citizens and those contractors who had served us for upwards of 20 years as interpreters and and who have served other roles. You know what the sad irony is the State Department who is heading up this debacle, this clusterfuck, so to speak, or Charley Foxtrot, if you don't like profanity, presented the Taliban with a list of American names. Now, what in the hell do you think the Taliban is going to do with that list of American names? Are they going to offer them coffee and donuts? Hell no. They're going to hunt these people down and they're going to kill them, regardless of what the Taliban spokesman says. They are our enemies. They have proven that. Do you remember 9/11? Al Qaeda were the financiers, the Taliban were the muscle. Let that sink in for a moment, folks. There is a lot of blame that needs to go around. There is a lot of accountability that will never happen because of our current political state. It is my opinion that for each American lost in this fucked up withdrawal, the president should be personally held accountable. And what I mean is be charged with criminally negligent homicide. Of course, the Attorney General and the Department of Justice sure as hell won't go along with that. No, what's going to happen is it's going to be another 9/11 2012 when Hillary Rodham Clinton, who headed the State Department, left 4 people to die in Benghazi, Libya. We all know what a debacle that was, how no accountability ever came. Hillary got away with 4 counts of murder. Joe Biden needs to be held accountable. The Secretary of State needs to be held accountable. Those in the top tier of the U.S. State Department need to be held accountable. And what I mean is the Chief of Staff, the United States Mission to the United Nations, the United States Agency for International Development, the heads of all these departments. The U.S. military top command have been advising the president on how best to handle, on what they need on the ground. There are not enough troops to fulfill this mission requirement. We cannot secure the area. No one wants to send troops into harm's way. I get that. But as a combat veteran and a former soldier, we don't get to make that decision. We go where we're ordered. We do the job that we're ordered to do. Period. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with the politics behind it. I'm going to say this, and it's going to piss people off. The American public as a whole has no idea what the military does. Yes, we are responsible for domestic security. Yes, protecting our borders. But our global mission is just that: global hotspots, protecting American interests. That means putting our military into harm's way. That's what we're paid for. That's what we do. Bringing the troops home from Afghanistan is the wrong move. We need to keep a footprint in that country because the Taliban are going to use that as a safe haven. They already have. ISIS is now in Afghanistan. Al Qaeda has been in Afghanistan the whole damn time. With the exception of a few months at the very beginning of the global war on terrorism, i.e., Operation Enduring Freedom, when our special operations community conducted ground operations before Operation Anaconda, we had pretty much eradicated Afghanistan of Al Qaeda. The ones that were left went across the border, across the mountains of Tora Bora, into Pakistan, where they rearmed, regrouped, and came back. That is a fact. All we are doing is slapping everyone who has served in Afghanistan in the face, saying your service doesn't mean shit. That is unfucking acceptable. I don't care if you're against the war on terror. If you have not noticed, we have not had a domestic terrorist attack for 20 years. What does that say? That says that we've been keeping the Taliban at bay. That's not going to happen now, folks. We have lost our security in that region. It is only a matter of time before something happens. And it may not be on the scope and scale that the attacks on 9/11 happened. They will infiltrate our borders, which is a whole nother issue thanks to the Biden administration. They didn't want the wall. They are going to come across the borders. They're already here. We have sleeper cells in this country. If you think I'm lying, well, that's your opinion. I am currently looking through a printed copy of Joe Biden's latest press conference that was about 2 or 3 days ago. I am looking at this on the White House website. And one of the little snippets that I would like to throw out, and this is Joe's words. Here is what you need to know. These ISIS terrorists will not win. We will rescue the Americans who are there. We will get our Afghan allies out, and our mission will go on. America will not be intimidated. Joe, you're full of fucking shit. Because not taking a definitive, direct stance against this aggression on innocent Americans and our allies in Kabul is showing the world that we are intimidated, that we are backing down from a fight. Now, let me say that we didn't start this fight. Now, there were intelligence flaws prior to 9/11, but that's a whole other story. America will not be intimidated. Well, Joe, you made us look like we pulled our pants down and we're kissing our own ass. Here's another little snippet. Every day when I talk to our commanders, I ask them what they need. What more they need, if anything, to get the job done. And I will tell you, I granted every request. Bullshit. You haven't granted the request, Joe, because there are not additional troops on the ground. Plain and simple. We need a bigger force to get this job done. It is not something we could sweep under the carpet and hope it goes away, because it won't. I was listening to an excerpt from former U.S. Navy SEAL and Texas Representative Dan Crenshaw this evening, and his thoughts on the situation in Afghanistan. Now, Dan served in Afghanistan, served with distinction, was wounded there, worked with some of these interpreters that we're leaving behind. Now, Joe Biden thinks that we can send our special operations community in to take care of business. Okay. Where in the hell are we going to get the intel, Joe? You got to have a presence on the ground to get the intel. We can't use Predator drones because Iran won't let us use their airspace. Pakistan won't let us use their airspace. China sure as hell won't let us use their airspace. The Soviet Union will not let us use their airspace for Predator drone strikes. So, what does that mean? That means a greater ground presence. We need boots on the ground to accomplish this mission. You know, a few minutes ago, I mentioned the fact that those of us who have served do so, first of all, voluntarily, and we go where we're sent and we do the jobs that we're asked to do. Another snippet of Joe, kiss my ass America, Biden. This is his words again, folks. Those who have served through the ages have drawn inspiration from the book of Isaiah when the Lord says, "Whom shall I send? Who shall go for us?" And the American military has been answering for a long time. Here am I, Lord, send me. Here I am, send me. Well, that's just great. But don't expect any support. Don't expect the administration that sends them to back them. Another amusing anecdote by Joe is we will complete our mission and we will continue after the troops are withdrawn to find means by which we defend any Americans who wishes to get out of Afghanistan. We will find them and get them out. How in the hell is that going to happen without boots on the ground? These people are in hiding. They are fearing for their lives. They're not going to come out of hiding for fear of being killed. So how are we going to find them? Gee, Joe, bet you didn't quite think that one out, did you, before you opened your suck hole and made an ass out of yourself on national TV? And folks, I hate politics. I hate political rants. I hate the political diatribe that is saturating mainstream media. I don't watch the news. I can't stomach it. As one who suffers with post-traumatic stress disorder, it shoots my anxiety level sky high. And quite frankly, folks, it pisses me off to the fact that while I'm not ashamed to be an American, God knows I would die for this country and have almost. But I'm fucking embarrassed about the current administration. The midterm elections are coming up. I urge the American public to get out and vote. The Republicans need to take Congress back. The Democrats have the majority. Now, I am not anti-Democrat. I'm not pro-Republican. If anything, I'm probably a conservative more than anything. But I will vote for the person who can best get the job done with our interests in mind, not lining their own pockets, not collecting special interest money, not selling off the economy, not undoing what the previous administration had accomplished, i.e. the Trump administration. And yes, you may not like Donald Trump. That's fine. I was an avid and am an avid Trump supporter. Now, having said that, I will say this. Did I agree with everything the man did? Hell no. The man has an ego and a chip on his shoulder that no one could ever knock off. That's Donald Trump. But the man is a diehard patriot and only had the best interests of this country in mind when he made foreign policy and even domestic policy. So I encourage you, when the midterm elections come up And my ass will be out there voting too. I'm not going to tell you anything that I'm not going to do. But back to the matter at hand. We need to stand up, folks. We need to let Washington hear our voices. Do you remember when the Capitol building was stormed and violated? I am not saying civil disobedience is right. It's wrong. We have the right to peaceful protest. That is our constitutional right. The right of free speech. Use that free speech, folks. Let these assholes in Washington know that they're not acting in our best interests. It is abundantly clear that the current administration just doesn't give a shit. They are consumed by their own special interests. They have proven that time and time again. They will continue to do it. Now, some out there may think of Joe Biden as the great Messiah and the one who will deliver us from the evil Donald Trump's regime, so to speak. Look where it's gotten us. If you voted for Joe Biden, you are partially responsible. And what I mean is, by you putting him in office, you have given him the power to shape foreign policy. Now, when you voted, did you have any idea what Joe Biden was going to do? No. I get that. But you gave him the opportunity. Take a look at Joe Biden's political record for the past 40 years. I challenge you. You can find the stats from the Library of Congress. You can know what bills he voted for and when. And you can see what his interests really are. I'm going to throw another snippet from the press conference. And this was a question asked in the briefing room. Question: Mr. President, you have said leaving Afghanistan is in the national interest of the United States. After today's attack, do you believe you will authorize additional forces to respond to that attack inside Afghanistan? And are you prepared to add additional forces to protect those Americans who remain on the ground carrying out the evacuation operation? The President responded, I have instructed the military, whatever they need. If they need additional force, I will grant it. But the military, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Joint Chiefs, and the commanders in the field, have all contacted me in one way or another, usually by letter, saying they subscribe to the mission as designed to get as many people out as we can within the timeline that's allotted. That is the best way they believe to get as many Americans out as possible, and others. As many Americans out as possible? What in the hell is wrong with that? All Americans and others. Not some, not a few, every damn one that wants to leave. The deadline for the operation is August 31st. Given that timeline and the current situation on the ground, it's not going to happen. We don't have sufficient resources in place to accomplish that mission in that timetable. It's just not doable. The President needs to extend the deadline past the 31st. Another problem with Joe's flawed plan, along with the State Department, is moving people out of Afghanistan to a third country, say Qatar. Have that as a staging area until they figure out where the hell they're going to put these people. Ramstein Air Force Base is busting at the seams as we speak because of American personnel being evacuated there. Have a staging area. Let them vet who they need to vet to come in this country if they're not Americans. If they do not meet the qualifications or the security background check, send them back. Don't let them come. Simplify the mission. I'm reminded of a military acronym, KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. Our ground commanders, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, the Undersecretary of Defense, have all given Joe advice. Joe doesn't want to take it. Joe knows best. Joe has never worn the uniform, has never put his ass in harm's way, has never sacrificed for something greater than himself. Let that sink in. Is that food for thought? I'm going to throw in one more little tidbit from our president, Mr. Biden. This is a question that was given again in the White House press room. Thank you, Mr. President. There has been some criticism, even from people in your party, about the dependence on the Taliban to secure the perimeter of the airport. Do you feel like that was a mistake made in that regard? The President responds, no, I don't. Look, I think General McKenzie handled this question very well. The fact that we are in a situation, we inherited a situation, practically since, as we all know, that the Afghan military collapsed 11 days before, and in 11 days, that this is in the best interest of, as McKenzie said, in the interest of the Taliban, that in fact ISIS-K does not metastasize beyond what it is, number one. And number two, it is in their interest that we are able to leave on time, on target. Now, are you serious? Yes, it is going to benefit the Taliban, because the quicker we're out of Afghanistan, the quicker they can plan, coordinate, and execute. And even if it's not on American soil, they will attack American interests and our allies abroad. That is what terrorists do. They attack targets of opportunity. They instill fear. They want us afraid. We are Americans, folks. We don't back down. Since 1776, we haven't backed down. We have taken on innumerable odds in the fight for our freedom and in the sacrifice of this great nation. We don't back down. Folks, I dedicate taps in the memory of the Marines and the U.S. Navy corpsmen we lost in Kabul that were victims of the suicide bomber. I'm going to close the podcast here. Again, I thank you for your support and your love, and thank you for tuning in and listening. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to let me know at theboneyard2021 at yahoo.com. That's theboneyard2021 at yahoo.com. Till next time, folks.